Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Welcome to the party, pal. Here it goes. They're all starting to jump on the bandwagon as we head into Game 5 with the Indiana Fever and the Las Vegas Aces. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19 real quick because I know I see it. I'm seeing it in the comments again every once in a while. The 19, for those of you who are relatively new, is all of you who support the channel. That is my quick shorthand shout out to you. Last season, I made some comments as a trainer, nothing personal, just saying, made some criticisms of Angel Reese and her movement, her agility, and so forth. And someone came in and threatened me with physical violence and then came back later and said, the only people who watch my channel are my 19 cousins. That is now all of you. Anyway, okay, let's move on. We got that out of the way. Apologies to everyone who's heard that a million times. But you've heard it here. You've heard it here for a while. I've talked about this for a while that the Indiana Fever are a title contender even without Caitlin Clark. And it goes back to things we talked about even last year when we said, hey, you know what? The WNBA does not do a great job in terms of the talent, in terms of recognizing talent, scouting talent, whatever it is. We've had many conversations about the fact that players who should be in the league or not in the league for various reasons. A lot of people talk about, hey, maybe Ariel Powers was not in the league because of Cheryl Reeve and her influence, because Cheryl did not like Ariel Powers. We won't go into that story again right now. Last year, I talked about the Fever picking up Odyssey Sims later in the season. I talked about them getting Ariel Powers. They have gotten them. They got Ari McDonald. So they they have a very, very talented roster. Are we forgetting that Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, all stars, finished fifth and sixth in the league in the MVP voting? People like to downplay those that hate her. People like to downplay Sophie Cunningham for a lot of reasons, for her blonde, for her possible political views. That a lot of people like to think, oh, she's obnoxious, she's just a pretty face and all this. Sophie Cunningham can flat out ball. She plays a role, right? She was limited in what she was allowed to do with Phoenix last year because they had Griner and they had uh, Tarasi and oh my gosh. Well, they had another big name and it escapes me at the moment, but they had all of this talent. So she was limited. She wasn't taking a lot of shots, but I think she was what, top five in efficiency or something like that this year, or top five in 3-point shooting or whatever. Sophie Cunningham was an important part of the team as well. So, and obviously they didn't have her for for the playoffs, but they had her for a good chunk of the season. The Indiana Fever are a very talented roster. Now, the one thing I will say that hurt them, and it goes back to something I addressed more fully in another video, but I say is that, oh well, what about playing together? Now I get that developing chemistry can take time and is obviously important. And when you have a locker room, when you have a group of players that actually like each other and want to play for each other, that makes a huge difference. And that also, I really think, cuts down the time in terms of the chemistry and learning each other's play on the court when you want to be out there playing together. But the flip side of that is when you have really good ball players and they're smart ball players and they want to play together, that is also very much shortens the cycle in terms of um the chemistry and playing together. Because think of pickup basketball. You're always playing with players you haven't played with before. If you're one of those who goes out and plays pickup a lot. Now, it's a lot of times it's a lot of the same players, but it's always mix and match, and you've got to learn right away. You don't even have an offense that you're running and all of that. So I'm not as big as that being an obstacle as a lot of other people are. But I wanted to play a clip here because I find this interesting that this is Yahoo Sports Daily. So obviously everyone knows who Yahoo is pretty big. It's not just little old me talking about it, but everyone else is starting to recognize the truth.
Absolutely. Just when you thought they were left for dead, you said it. You said that the Fever were going to have a good opportunity at home. They certainly did in Game 4. They've now forced a Game 5 that will come back to Vegas. This is going to be absolutely electric.
This back and forth has been so honestly, this entire, WNBA semifinals have been so fun and so back and forth and chippy The thing with the Aces, whenever they took game two and really limited what Kelsey Mitchell was able to do, I said they now have the blueprint. Something that was so difficult for so many teams, whether it was in the regular season or in the postseason, to limit Kelsey Mitchell's impact. The Aces and that lights out defense found a way to do it. And I thought ultimately that would be the difference. Now, the Aces were able to take game three, but in game four, not only was Kelsey Mitchell able to get hers with 25 points, we also saw the added razzle dazzle with Aaliyah Boston. We haven't seen Aaliyah Boston be a massive impact, at least offensively, really throughout the entirety of this postseason. Yes, her presence has been, one that you have to pay attention to, but Aaliyah Boston wasn't able to break through, at least on the box score, until she was last night. Aaliyah Boston had 24 points. That's her largest point total going back to like mid-August. So not only is Kelsey Mitchell able to get hers, not only is Odyssey Sims able to get hers with 18 points last night, with the addition of Aaliyah Boston, I mean, those three, having, double digit scores, two of them in the 20s, that's not something that I think very many teams are able to do against that Aces defense. The Aces have the best defense in the WNBA, including Asia Wilson, the co-defensive player of the year. So the Fever, I want to keep counting them out because they're not at full strength. Because the Fever don't have Caitlin Clark or Sophie Cunningham or Ari McDonald or Sydney Colson, and yet they still find ways to win. No longer are they a good story. They haven't been just a good story for quite some time now. Now, the Fever look like legitimate contenders, and forcing a game 5 against that Aces squad when Asia Wilson is able to drop 30 plus. I mean, I have to give so much credit to Stephanie White, their head coach, and to this entire team. They continue to find ways.
I'll say it again. Welcome to the party. I've been saying this since before we got to the playoffs. The Indiana Fever are capable of winning a championship, and it all, of course, comes to a head tonight. Game 5, elimination game. Winner moves on, loser walks home out in Vegas. But of course, the Indiana Fever don't play road games, so I don't think playing in Vegas is really a big deal, unless, of course, the officiating is skewed. We're going to see how the Aces come back mentally. Because to her point, and I said this in another video, Aaliyah Boston for me, that was the best game I've ever seen Aaliyah Boston play since Caitlin Clark arrived, playing without Caitlin Clark. She upped her game. She did a lot of different things. She made Asia Wilson look foolish. She made Asia Wilson question herself. She made Asia Wilson, who's the whistle, right? Asia Whistle Wilson, whine and moan and complain about the number of free throws Aaliyah Boston shot. That's because Asia Whistle can't guard Aaliyah Boston when Aaliyah Boston is on her game. So hopefully, the thing I've always said, and I'm this doesn't change it because she's got the talent to come out and have good games, but to take that to another level and make it consistent, I think, is Aaliyah Boston somehow, some way has to find a way to have a little more heart, a little more desire, a little more um, I don't like the phrase junk dog. You used to see junkyard dog because that had a very specific connotation. We get it because you don't want to mess with a junkyard dog, right? You get to that fence of that junkyard, and here comes the junkyard dog on that chain, barking and letting you know you're not getting in here. And if you do, not all of you is leaving. You aren't leaving in one part for sure. But yeah, man, I'm gonna call it Fever Roll tonight. Head into the finals. It's going to be epic. Phoenix Mercury and Dewana Bonner and Alyssa Thomas versus Indiana Fever. That is going to be an interesting one. So let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. Appreciate you checking out the video as always. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Go have the day you deserve. Get ready for the game, and I will talk to you later.